It has been over half a century since a human being walked on the lunar surface. In 2022, NASA's Space Launch System, a rocket generating 8.8 million pounds of thrust, carried the Orion capsule around the moon and back. It proved the hardware could survive the violent journey. But that capsule was completely empty. For Artemis II, NASA has selected Reid Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch, and Jeremy Hansen. Their presence on board turns this flight into a critical trial of the spacecraft's ability to keep a crew alive in a deep space environment. This graphic maps out their 10-day objective. The crew will fly a sweeping 230,000-mile figure-8 path around the moon. Along the way, they will push Orion's life support, navigation, and emergency systems to their absolute engineering limits. NASA requires this flight before they will greenlight a lunar landing or attempt to build a permanent base near the lunar South Pole. Every piece of hardware keeping these 4 people alive has to be proven in deep space. Launching a 20-ton spacecraft out of Earth's gravity well requires a controlled explosion. The Space Launch System will ignite with more than 8 million pounds of thrust, violently accelerating the crew into orbit. This ascent timeline shows exactly how the rocket sheds weight to reach space. About 2 minutes in, the solid rocket boosters detach, followed by the massive core stage engine at the 8-minute mark, leaving Orion attached only to its upper propulsion stage. Before they head to the moon, the crew has to prove they can maneuver the ship. Pilot Victor Glover will leave a critical test called the Proximity Operations Demonstration. Orion will separate from the upper stage. Then, Glover will take manual control and pilot the capsule back toward the discarded stage, flying in close proximity. If automated navigation computers fail 250,000 miles from home, the astronauts must fly the vehicle themselves. This test ensures they can. On Flight Day 2, the translunar injection burn commits the crew to deep space. They fly a free return trajectory, perfectly threaded into the gravitational intersection of Earth and the Moon. If propulsion fails, Earth's gravity naturally pulls it home without a single engine burn. During the 4-day coast, the crew will run internal survival drills. They'll practice building emergency shelters inside the cabin, using water tanks and stowage bags to block radiation from unpredictable solar flares. Deep space travel involves significant technical risks. The free return trajectory manages that danger by using the consistent mechanics of gravity to ensure the ship eventually loops back to the atmosphere. By Flight Day 6, the Earth's gravitational pull gives way to the Moon's. Orion will sweep within 4,000 miles of the lunar surface, bringing the crew closer to the cratered terrain than any human in decades. Hitting this apex triggers a highly dangerous operational phase, a mandatory 41-minute total communications blackout. As Orion crosses behind the far side of the moon, thousands of miles of solid rock will physically block all radio frequencies. The astronauts will be completely severed from mission control, entirely on their own. To re-establish contact, NASA relies on the Deep Space Network. Massive global radio dishes in California, Spain, and Australia are locked onto the exact coordinates where Orion will re-emerge. When mission control finally hears the crew's voices again, it will prove that Earth's tracking infrastructure can sustain the intense isolation of deep space exploration. On Flight Day 10, the capsule approaches Earth. The service module separates, exposing Orion's heat shield for the final, violent descent. The spacecraft will hit the atmosphere at Mach speeds, generating a wall of friction. Superheated plasma will engulf the capsule, subjecting the heat shield to temperatures near 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Once through the extreme heat, a sequence of parachutes must deploy perfectly. These massive canopies will catch the thick lower atmosphere, slowing Orion from 130 miles per hour to a survivable 17 mile per hour splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. Successfully navigating this 10-day gauntlet clears the way for the next mission. Artemis III will use this same verified hardware to land a crew directly onto the lunar surface. Completing this mission proves the moon is no longer a distant relic of history. It becomes a permanent operational base and a necessary stepping stone for the journey to Mars.